In this day and age, common consensus is that Pokemon games have jumped the shark. While I definitely won't disagree with that, I will say that this change took place way later than what many might say. I hold that between the release of Pokemon Red and Green and Sun and Moon, the quality of Pokemon games for the most part improved from release to release. The peak of this era could really be contentiously debated endlessly, but I'm making this clear right now. Pokemon Black and White are in my opinion the second highest peak that the Pokemon franchise has ever reached. They benefited from decades of game design knowledge which had come from designing the previous 4 generations, as well as being the second truly new entries to release on the DS, meaning that this wasn't the dev team's first rodeo. More than anything though, it's just clear that there was a great deal of love and care put into every aspect of this experience. Before I gush any further, however, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications every time that I upload, leave a like, and comment any and all suggestions on how to improve my reviews going forward. Let's get into it. Pokemon Black and White have more or less the same premise as every Pokemon game. A kid from a small town has to pick a high-maintenance pet, fight 8 gym leaders, take out a terrorist group, and then become the champion of the region where the game takes place. It also wouldn't be a Pokemon game if it didn't start with yet another long tutorial section you cannot skip. Like, I guess it's not that bad, but I'm over learning how to catch a Pokemon. Like, do you know how offensive that is to a Pokemon player? That's like if every morning when I left home, I had somebody come up to me and teach me how to breathe oxygen. Like, I appreciate the heads up, but I'm good. After this blip in pacing, things really get right into motion with your first encounter with this game's enemy group, Team Plasma. I'm gonna say it, Team Plasma is the best villain team in all of Pokemon. Not only are they badass, but I've got to give props to Game Freak for creating a moral dilemma centered around the premise of the very franchise that made them rich. It challenges the notion that Pokemon should even be with trainers in the first place, and makes for a gripping narrative. The first time that you meet N, he positions himself as an onlooker in the crowd watching Team Plasma give their speech. Immediately on talking to him, however, it becomes clear that he is a follower of their ideologies. Laying bare his ideals before you, he not only makes you empathize with Team Plasma's cause, but also with him. His wide-eyed vision of a world where trainers don't hurt Pokemon is a noble one, but Team Plasma has the moral compass of a corrupt police force. Sadly, the climax fumbles his arc, revealing that Team Plasma's big bad surrounded him with only abused Pokemon in order to shape this worldview. Maybe I just have too little faith in humanity, but I seriously doubt that the Pokemon world would have such a statistically small number of shitty people. Part of me thinks that this was kind of a way for Game Freak to do a bit of corporate virtue signaling without really altering their gameplay formula, but then again, I get it. On one hand, it makes N a more likable character, a pawn kinda conditioned to think that he was a leader in this rotten hierarchy, but on the other, it decreases the empathy I may have otherwise had for Team Plasma as a collective. Sure, there's a few grunts here and there who seem to have noble motivations, but the organization's overt tyranny does feel like an all too convenient way of positioning them as super bad and just returning Pokemon to its gotta catch 'em all status quo. Regardless of this, it still culminates in one hell of an ending and gives legitimate food for thought, which is a bold step for a Pokemon game to take. The other characters of Unova also help to color this experience, and leading the charge are your rivals Bianca and Cheren. The yin and yang dynamic of ditziness and intellect they present is a refreshing and enjoyable one. I may long for the pure douchebaggery of Blue or Silver, but this is a very welcome detour. In my experience this time around, Cheren even managed to beat me in our initial battle thanks to a critical hit. It was inadvertent, mind you, but it really does just sum up his whole character and pursuit of strength. Another personal favorite is the Unova champion, Alder. He just gives off cool single uncle vibes in everything from his design to his dialogue. He also serves as kind of a nice contrast to Cheren and a wise mentor for you and your 2 rivals. More importantly though, his firm stance that Pokemon and people belong together, as well as the care he clearly has for his own, make him the antithesis to Team Plasma's entire dogma. And this somewhat alleviates my earlier complaints about this story's climax, due to his characterization. God damn it, man, I just love Aldo. But then again, I could say the same for Unova at large. Personally, it's always felt like one of the most futuristic Pokemon regions, and feels cutting edge to this day. Whether it's little streamlining touches like putting the Pokemart in the Pokemon Center, or the huge scope that locations like the Sky Arrow Bridge and Castelia City exhibit, Unova capitalizes on being a semi-metropolitan Pokemon region to great effect. In retrospect, areas like Castelia City or the surprisingly cinematic cutscenes of the game's climax really show the grander heights the franchise would soon realize with further entries. There's also a lot of biodiversity here, much like the New York state on which it's based. Routes and cities exhibit heaps of variety in terms of weather, terrain, and the aesthetic of the cities and towns themselves. I also think that the aesthetics and functionality of the gyms make for some of my favorite gym experiences. I mean, in what other game can you ride a roller coaster, get shot out of a cannon, and go through honey walls in the gyms? Checkmate. Another little feature I appreciate is the inclusion of a healing character on just about every route. This is a really handy way to cut back on trips to the Pokemon Center, though it's also a mistake thematically. If they were really trying to base Unova on the US, they should have cut this as well as making you pay a premium at Pokemon Centers. One of the only things I don't like here are the Pokemon musicals. Like, look at this shit. Who decided these were better than contests? Like, really? Another thing which made these games stand out was the move for the region to feature a whopping 156 all-new Pokemon, something which they had never really done before. Despite drawing heavy criticism on account of some more out-there Pokemon designs, I think this bold move paid off, delivering some of my favorite weird designs, as well as making Black and White feel super distinct from any of their predecessors. You also have the newly added and woefully underutilized rotation and triple battles. Rotation battles are more common in Black and triple in White. These are both really rare in the main game, and I wish this wasn't the case, because I always found myself having fun with the greater degree of planning that they tasked you with. I wish they stuck around beyond Generation 6, because I definitely miss the unpredictable element they brought to the table. In terms of the standard battle, the formula remains unchanged from just about every other Pokemon experience. The Diamond and Pearl feature of trainers chiming in mid-battle returns, and they expanded it to happen a little more often here. It makes things more immersive, but at the same time it can be obnoxious when Charon is surprised because I used Spark on his Lipod. Like, it's a move to deal damage. I wasn't planning on winning this battle with the divine power of Tail Whip, Charon. Black and White were also the first to make TMs reusable indefinitely. This is a prime example of the Pokemon formula being made more convenient for the better. It doesn't unbalance the experience, it just makes things that bit less stressful when it comes to worrying about using a TM on the wrong Pokemon. Another little feature I appreciated coming off the back of playing Sword and Shield was that you get given the Lucky Egg by an NPC, which helps to boost the amount of XP a Pokemon gets in battle. Again, a balanced, but really helpful option to have. Keyword being option, Sword and Shield. Let me turn off the XP share. The biggest leap forward in the battles was the addition of moving sprites. This really did mark the pinnacle of what Pokemon games were capable of doing with sprites instead of 3D models. They move absolutely gorgeously, and this is probably one of the main reasons I'd point to when asked about why Generation 5 was more polished than what came after. All of these things are just so alive and filled with personality. They definitely give the more posed and stiff models of X and Y a run for their money. Beyond this, the visual presentation of Black and White, and also their sequels, is a perfection of the DS-era Pokemon art style. These are noticeably nicer looking games than Diamond and Pearl, and a big part of that was the visual diversity the Unova region presents here. The 3D spaces with 2D sprites walking around them are honestly so distinctive and something that I look back on really fondly in Pokemon. A less enjoyable relic of the DS era is the decision to fill the entire bottom screen with the C gear, which in 2021 is more or less useless thanks to the lack of Wi-Fi in these games. They could have at least added an option to have the map, the main menu, or even just something a little less time-bombed and temporary. Like, I don't know, the Poketch from Diamond and Pearl, like, this thing just feels like a waste of space. On the sound end of things, however, Black and White deliver a bombastic and maximalist soundtrack which I still go back and listen to every so often. The bright metropolitan energy of Unova is encapsulated perfectly by these tracks, but there's also a good deal of versatility on display. The slower, more tranquil music of New Vermitown can draw you into this cozy and nostalgic experience, but that's not to say that the remix of the low HP theme during battles won't have your heart going a mile a minute. And it's touches like that which really make Black and White so special. These games just have so much care put into them, something which I feel has kind of been lacking for this franchise in recent years. It took some of the best parts of the 4th generation and created a region which was entirely its own with all new Pokemon, which in my opinion have some of the most unique designs to this day. The spirit of originality and breaking away from their predecessors make Pokemon Black and White some of my favorite Pokemon games ever, and earned them a 7 out of 10 from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed my review of Pokemon Black and White. If you did, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications whenever I upload, leave a like, and comment any and all suggestions for my future videos, as well as what you thought of this one. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.